All right, so thank you so much, Michael, for coming today. I'm sure you had a very long day, but thank you so much for participating. So today, the theme is going to be about hakamas. And speaking of hakamas, I rarely get to wear this very rare color purple hakama. I never wear this outside, but I wanted to buy it because I just wanted to have it as an example. But this this purple hakama too is actually made by the company that I'm going to be working with that sells the jinbaori and the camouflage kimono set and all that kind of stuff. But they make this very unique color hakama too. Maybe someone will like it in the future. So I would like to try this on. So it'll probably be easier for you to see the changes of where the strings moved on and such. And of course, this kimono I have is my original kimono, right? Yeah, it's the Budogu Nanabe, yeah, with all the Asayama-ku training equipment, tools. But purple is Asayama-ku's theme color, I guess we can say. So I thought the purple combo would go great. But anyways, today I'm going to be explaining everything you need to know about how to wear a hakama from starting from the kakobina that's specifically made for the hakama, and also the three how to put on the hakama first of all, and the three front knots of the hakama. So we'll like to summarize everything you need to know about hakama today. Okay, and for the kagobi knot, there are two different ways you can do for under the hakama. One is the katabasami we discussed 2 weeks ago, and the other one is specifically for going under the hakama, which is called ichimonji musubi. Ichi, yes, is the kanji character one in Japanese, which is literally just a horizontal line. Yeah. Monji means character or letter. Yeah. So it's the shape of the kanji character one is what it means, and musubi means not. So the ichimonji musubi is specifically for when you wear ikamas. So today I'd like to practice that together with you. If you'd like to do the katabasami, which is a lot easier to do, and samurais in the past would do that inside the home when they were in their kinagashi style, you could do that, but we already covered that 2 weeks ago. So if you're interested, you can go back to that video and learn how to do that. It's very, very easy. Okay? So among the six major ways of tying the kakobi, ichimonji is the most a little bit slightly more difficult. Yeah. But once you get the knack of it, it's not that difficult. So let's practice it together. Okay. So as we always talk about, first of all, you need to fold the one of the ends of the kakobi vertically. Yeah, like this. And depending on the knot that you do, the length of the te, we call this in Japanese, by the way. Te means handle, because this is the side you start wrapping your obi. So we call this the handle, yeah, the te. The te, the length is different. So katabasami I talked about earlier is the shortest, about 25 centimeters. When it goes to the kainokuchi, the typical merchant tied it in the past, the fashionable way, it's about 35. It depends on which textbook you read, which teacher you ask. Some people say ichimonji can be about 50 centimeters, which is very, very long. Yeah. I personally don't like making the tape too long for the ichimonji because there's too much of the tail left at the end when you complete the knot. So I usually go somewhere around 35 to 50, which means the length isn't that different from kainochi. That's my personal way of doing it. And again, to measure how long your te is, usually for most kakobi, this length here, the width of your obi is approximately 10 centimeters. So if you make a triangle like this, now you can know that this is 10 centimeters. Okay. If you make another triangle, you know this is 20 centimeters because you made two triangles. And you keep on going, 30, approximately 40. Yeah. And you find a point where you want the te. Okay, let's say this. Okay, let's make the te about this long. Okay. All right. Then, just like all the other kakobi, same thing. You pinch it like this so you know where the te ends, and you bring this to the back. Okay. And you bring the te to the center of your body right under your belly button, and you start wrapping the obi around your waist. Now, this point, what's really important is that, as you can see from the side, the back is higher and the front is lower, like this. Okay? We discussed a little bit about this last week too, but kakobi is meant to be tied like this. So the back is supporting your backbone right here, and the front is about 4 fingers lower than your belly button, which means the top of the obi is right on top of the tanden we often talk about in Budo. Yeah. So it should be supporting your belly. If you have a big belly like I have, you can see the obi, yeah, your belly should be riding on your obi like this. Okay. And as we wrap the obi, the reason why you wanted to have it tilting forward is because this was actually a rule from the time of the Edo period. Number one, it just simply makes your silhouette when you're wearing a kimono look better. Number two, when you ever have a katana in your belt, you want the wakizashi to be tilting slightly forward. So with the obi tilting slightly forward, the hilt of the wakizashi will be pointing forward toward the opponent if you ever have to use it. So there's several reasons like that. I think I already filmed a video talking about it very soon, so hopefully I'll be able to edit it at some point. Okay? Then, once you wrap the kakobi around you twice, usually twice. If it's too short, you can just wrap it around once. Yeah. But once you get to a point where you cannot wrap it one more time, yes, this is the tare side we call the hanging side, tareru. Okay? The other ones, all the other four, katabasami and roni musubi and kainoguchi and the kichiya musubi, you would usually adjust the length of the tare side by folding it inward like this. Yeah, and usually make it about 2 times or 3 times longer than the te, and you make the knot, and you by flipping it over, having a te and top and such. The ichimonji musubi and the variant of ichimonji musubi, which is called the katanagashi, these two are a little bit unique. Okay, what you first of all have to do is you don't fold in the tare first of all, but what you do is you want it to come a little bit thinner, so you want to start folding it up inward like this. So it becomes thin at this point here. Okay? And now you have the te and the tare crossing each other. Now, unlike the other four, you don't bring the tare on top. Okay? You keep the te on the bottom and you wrap the te around the tare, not the tare around the te like you do for the other four. Okay? So you keep the tare on top and you put the te into the te on top, you put the te up like this. The other four, you bring the tare up, but this time you bring the te up like this. Okay. All right. And like as you can see, you folded it upward like this, should be able to make a nice knot here. If you don't fold it up and make the tare, should I say skinnier? Yeah, it's really difficult to make a cross here with the te that you folded vertically. So you want it to be approximately about the same width where you make the knot. Okay. Now you have the te and tare across like this, and just like we would do with the koshihimo, if you tied it this way, yeah, you wanted to bring it the other way. You want to bring it the other way this way, so you basically lock the knot here. Okay, it's slightly locked, and to prevent this knot here to get loose, as much as possible, you want to hold the te under your elbow or under your wrist like this, so you can keep it here. Okay, now with the tare, okay, you start folding it, folding it, folding it, folding it like this, and approximately the size of one fold should be about the size of your hand. Your hand. Okay, this size approximately. Okay, so once you have that size, as you can see, you fold it again. My screen is over here, so I'm looking at my screen if I'm properly showing it or not. But okay, and you keep on folding until you get back to the center. Okay. And at the end, though, of course, you need to have to adjust a little bit. So sometimes you have to make it a little bit shorter. Sometimes you have to make it a little bit longer to adjust. Yeah. Go. And once you get here, you want this to be facing this way. Okay. So you have the fold here and face it down. Okay. And now you have approximately the size of your hand folds in front of you. And once you have this rectangle in front of you like this, okay, you want to fold it again vertically like this. And in Japanese, we call this a mountain, yama-ori mountain fold like this. Okay, and you make it into a mountain here, and you have this right at the middle of the knot. Okay, then the tare you're holding onto under your elbow or your wrist, okay, you want to start wrapping this around the mountain that you've made. So you start wrapping this around. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Okay. Then your te should be able to go around the mountain that we made. Okay, like this. And it should come out from the top. It was pointing down first, so you put it around the mountain and then up. Okay. Then you should have this shape here. So I'm doing Terrible today. I usually can do a little bit better. Every obi, if you are enjoying men's kimono already, every obi has different lengths and width and everything. So you got to really get used to each obi. Okay, that should be good. Okay, once you bring it up once, yeah, the leftover te, you put it into your obi this way, toward toward the obi, inside the obi. So this way, and then it should pop up down from the bottom here. Okay, at this point, it should be nice and firm. Okay, now be careful when you do this. You don't want the what your te to go under your koshimo. By the way, if you have a koshimo over your kimono, it has to be between your obi and the koshimo. So if it gets tangled with the koshimo you have on top of your kimono, it gets really difficult to turn it to the back later on. So be careful. Okay, and then this tape, it's left over. You could just leave it here. It's not going to be shown to anyone anyways, but if you want to have this nice and neat, you can put it into one of the layers of the obi here and tuck it in here to hide it, if you want to. Yeah, like this. Okay, then you only have the ichimonji part left, like this. Hey, sorry, my ichimonji is not very nice today. I can usually do a little bit better. Okay. All right. Then once the Ichimonji knot is created, every knot you want to turn it clockwise. Okay. So you hold the knot firmly so the te and everything doesn't get messy. Hold it. That's all of the layers. Yeah. And try to tuck in your belly as much as possible. And clockwise. Among all of the knots that you make with the kakobi, the Ichimonji is the most difficult one to turn it to the back without destroying the knot. Okay, and you bring it exactly the back. Okay, exactly right in the middle of your back. It should be okay, like this. Okay, and again at this point, please be sure that you have the sechushin straight, so you can put your fingers in between the obi and the kimono and pull it to the sides like this to take away the wrinkles. Okay, like this. Okay, and be sure that the sechushin is right to center and there are no wrinkles on your back. Okay, and double check. The back of the obi is higher and the front is lower, like this. Okay, so this ichimonji is a little bit tricky, yeah. But once you get the knack of it, it's really close to what we do with the front tie of the hakama. It's just a little bit wider, and if your obi is a bit stiff, then it might be a bit difficult. But once you get used to it, you'll be able to make this shape, and it's a very, very strong knot. So once you get the knack of it, it should stay right there for you. Okay. All right. Now that we have the knot ready, let's move on to the Hakama. I have my purple Hakama with me today. So there's many different types of hakama that exist in Japan. The one that typically worn is called the umanori bakama. Umanori, so horse riding hakama. So it's basically like very baggy pants. There's a separation in the middle. There's a hole for your left foot, your left right leg. Yeah, and usually it's these umanori hakama. Otherwise, there are skirt type hakamas called the andon bakama. Andon bakama. Andon literally means lantern, like a lantern. There's no separations in the middle. Yeah. Andon bakama were originally women's hakama, actually. When Japan westernized and the equality between men and women became more and more important in Japan too, women started to be able to take more education than in the past. Yeah. So they wouldn't just wear the typical type of women's kimono, but they also started to wear hakamas. However, they did want to separate it from the men's hakama because they would all look the same, so they created something called the andon bakama for women to wear. And especially it's a little bit too troublesome for them to use the bathroom every time too. Yeah, and then gradually men started to wear those too because they're again very convenient just to have to tuck it up and then use the restroom and everything. And also there are different types of hakama called like the nobakama, which means field hakama that samurai in the past would wear when they would do farm work or they would travel. You probably heard of hakama before, where there's a string that wraps around your ankle so the hem doesn't spread out and it gets all tight and really close so it doesn't get tangled around your feet. That's also for long distance traveling too. Mhm. But usually it will be the umanori hakama like this. Okay? Yes. So the one where I'm going to be explaining to you today is done for the umanori hakama and the ando hakama, I would say. Okay. Then your feet, you have to put them in, but traditionally you would start putting your left foot in. By the way, yeah, in Japan, left is considered more important than right. So you put your left foot in and then your right foot. And small piece of history, but in the past, when samurais they would put their special white kimono on to do the seppuku ceremony, they would put their right foot in first on purpose. Okay, so you bring the front strings to the back, right from here. You match the top of the obi with the top of the hakama right here. There are some people who bring the top of the hakama on top of the obi like this. Does that make sense? It's really hard. This is really difficult to explain in English, isn't it? Because when you say on top of the obi and on top of the obi, it's the same. It's really difficult to explain. But what should I say? The top of the hakama doesn't go over like this. That makes sense. Yeah. So it should cover the top exactly. Should match the top line of the obi like this. Michael, thank you. Let me take a look at the chat later. Sorry. And then you match the top of the obi. Okay. Then the back, once you bring it to the back, the two strings makes a cross, an X over the ichimonji knot that you've made. Okay. Oh, and the reason why you don't want to bring the top of the hakama over, or should I say, too high, too much higher than the obi, is because if you actually had a wakizashi in here, you're gonna make the top of the hakama very wrinkly. So you don't want that to happen. It won't go in very smoothly. So I used to do that in the past, by the way. But and more information. The reason why people do that, they bring their comma really high, a lot higher than the obi, is because in VNKR iaido, yeah, All Japan Kendo Federation iaido, the problem is that if your obi shows, yeah, so basically if this happens, for example, during a embu or like a down promotion exam, you're gonna automatically fail. Yeah, so that's the reason why people got very scared and they tried to bring their comma up higher and higher and higher, which is actually not how it was done traditionally. Yeah, and I have no clue why they had this rule. Yeah, I mean, for like Michael Edward, for us training SMH, that doesn't matter at all, right? But yeah, so correctly, you should have the top of the comma. That's right on top of the obi. Yeah, and as you can see, you make a cross right over the ichimonji knot that you've made. Okay, so I hope I'm doing it correctly. It's really hard to tell. Like this. Okay? And then you bring the two strings to the back. So at this point, okay, as you can see, top string hides the top of the kakobi. The second time it comes back to the front, hides the bottom of the kakobi like this. What you tend to do is bring this string too low, and this happens. See, the kimono is showing right here. This isn't good. Yeah. The ichimonji musubi, this width here is perfectly about the width of your kakobi, so it should be here. And there should not be any kimono shown here. Same for this side too. See? The bottom of the obi, you're trying to hide it with the string that comes back to the front. Okay? Then, once the strings come back to the front, you make an X cross here on the left or right side of your body, and the lower string, watch, lower string, you want to bring it up like this. Bring it up like this, so you can basically make the two strings almost in one line. Okay. Wow, the lighting is so difficult today. We used to have curtains, by the way, here on this window. And there's so much sunlight coming in. We have this small dinosaur living inside our house. It's called Zen, and he ripped the curtains right off here. and tore it off, so we don't have any curtains anymore. And we were too tired to buy new curtains, so we don't have any curtains here. The window is completely opened. Yeah. But anyways, yeah. So once you get moved to the back, yes, under the obi here, okay, under the obi here, you start tying it. Okay, butterfly knot, any knot is fine. If your string is too short, you can just simply make two knots. Okay, right. Then again, at this point already, if you're were wearing the kakuobi correctly, your hakama should tilt forward like this too. Okay, and hakamas are created so the kakuobi is worn correctly. By the way, so the front of the hakama is shorter and the back of your hakama is higher. Yeah. So when you have a hakama, and you have it in front of you, it's not like a skirt actually. The length is a little bit different. It's adjusted so that it should be worn this way. Okay. All right. Then the back of your hakama, if you're wearing an andon or umanori, you should have this here, this flap here. So you put this into the obi knot here. Sorry, really hard to sell if you guys can see me. You put this into the obi knot here, and you place the back support on top of the ichimonji knot that we made together. Okay. So if you have it correctly, you should have the back of the hakama, should I say, sticking up just a little bit like this, sticking out a little bit. And this shape was considered fashionable, what should I say, authentic. Having the back of the hakama too flat was not good. Okay, like this. All right. Then finally, once we got here, there are three different ways of how to tie the front of the hakama. Okay. Now, the first one is called komamusubi or musubi kiri. Okay. They're both very, very easy. And if you're training in Asayama Ichiden-ryu, this is the type of tie that you usually do when you're just training. Okay. So you make an X in front of you, right? With the two strings that came from the back support. Okay. The top string, yeah, you bring it, yes, under all of the other strings. The first string that you tied that came from the front of the hakama, you put it under everything, and you make a cross like this. Okay, just like we did with the ichimonji knot with kakobi earlier, like this. Okay, once you do this, the higher string you bring it to the middle, the center of your body. Okay, then you lower it and then you fold it 90 degrees toward the direction your other string is. Maybe I should set further away so it's easier to see. This way. Okay. Oh, the sun. And then into the loop that you made with the top string, yeah, you put the bottom string into that hole that you've made. And you can tie it. One key point when you do musubikiri though, as you can see, the front of the musubikiri, you don't want to tie it too hard, yeah. But you do want to have it nice and snug, but you do want to keep the front of the shape here as a square as much as possible. Okay? Not so much of a square, but or kind of like a rectangle, I guess. Yeah, as much as possible, like this. Okay. Then the sides, yeah, you just tuck it in the back here, and you can wrap it around maybe twice here, the back, behind. This side too, same thing. You can bring it to the back and tuck it in twice. Very, very easy. Musubikiri. Okay. This musubikiri knot is something that, again, you would do for very, very casual type of occasions. When I'm wearing kimono just for fashion, I would actually do this often when I'm hurrying, if I'm in a rush and I need to get dressed very quickly. Yeah. I would do this too. Again, like the other types of hakama, like nobakama, tatsukebakama we talked about earlier, would do this as well. Okay, musubikiri. Yeah. So for kobudo training, usually you would do this too. Yeah. So again, Six Sensei, the headmaster of Asayama Shinryu, is the headmaster. So you would have the Jumonji knot, which is the most formal type of knot, but he's the headmaster. So all the other students should usually have this. Yeah. But it's not that strict though. At least in estimation, it's not that strict. But historically, yeah, this would be the tie that you would do. Musubikiri, komamusubi, or it's called. Okay. Komami is referring to this shape, and musubikiri means a simple knot, basically. You tie and it's over, is what musubikiri means, and komamusubi is referring to this shape. So there's two different ways of calling it, and it depends on which region. Yeah, it was explained. Okay. All right, so this is very, very easy. Just a simple knot. The next one is ichimonji musubi. Okay, just like the same name as the knot we did with the kakuobi earlier, kakuobi knot. But this time, the ichimonji musubi is actually the most difficult one. Okay, let me just the camera just a little bit, bring it a little bit lower. Hey guys. All right. So now with this the string a little bit lower. So this time you want both of these strings to go under the front strings that you tied. Okay, both strings under it. Okay. And you should make an X. You should have an X like this under the front strings, as you can see. Okay, like this under the front strings. Then the string you have on the bottom, okay, you bring it to the center and wrap it around everything. Wrap it around everything at the middle of your hakama. Wrap it around everything at the middle of your hakama, like this. Okay. Then this string, the other string that you just did not use for the wrapping, you bring it to the side. So you bring it to the side this way, yeah. And then to keep this still, you wrap the middle string again around that, like this. Then at this point, the two strings should be making a right angle, a 90-degree angle. Okay, you can do it this way too. It doesn't matter. Yeah. Okay, and then this string that's sticking out to the side. Okay, you want to fold this just like we did with the folding of the ichimonji musubi earlier with the kakuobi knot. This time though, the length should be approximately about the length of your index finger, or a little bit longer than that. Okay, so you fold it once. Okay, you fold it again, and you keep on folding until you can bring the folds to the middle. Okay, once you bring it to the middle, you attach it in the front like this. Okay, and in the end, you need to adjust it a little bit, by the way. So, and one typical mistake that you make here is making this too short. Yeah, if it's really, really short, it will look a little bit strange. Yeah, too long is not good either. But if it's too long or too short, too long is probably better. Yeah, but ideally, again, it should be about the length of your index finger, maybe just 1 inch or a few centimeters longer than that, but approximately about this much. Okay, and then the bottom string you have, you start wrapping it around the folds that you made. Twice would be best. If your string is too short, just once is fine too. Okay, one time like this, second time around it. Okay, up, down, and you wrap it around. Okay. All right. Then with this leftover string, this is the little bit complicated point. Okay. So let me use an obi to explain to you what we're going to be doing. Okay. So please imagine this, this is this right now that's hanging down. Okay. What we're going to be doing is you want to fold this way first, this way. Okay. And then tuck this way to hide it. Okay. One more time. This is the same as this. Okay. Please imagine this is this. Okay. You want to first of all fold it this way. This way. Okay. Then after you do this, you want to fold it inward this way. From here to this angle. And then you hide this part under all of the other strings. Okay, so let's do this. So from here, you fold it 90 degrees. To the left or the right doesn't matter. I'm right-handed, so just it's more convenient for me to turn it to the right. Okay. Once you do this here, you fold it inward under the ichimonji knot and under the strings on the side. Okay, and you align it like this. Okay, and then the string is gone, so now you only have the nice ichimonji knot in the front. Okay, this is the second type of Hakama front tie, ichimonji. Okay? Ichimonji. Ichimonji is right in the middle between casual and formal. Okay, and the Jumonji musubi we'll do after this. Jumonji means the kanji character 10, which you write like cross. Okay, Jumonji musubi originally was done only for super formal kimono, like the kuromonsiki, yeah, or the monsuki haori, or the iromonsuki, by the way. So monsuki is mon means the kamon, ski means with, yeah. So with the kamon kimonos, yeah, is usually the only opportunity you would have the jumonji. Okay? So most cases that means I would say about 70% of the time, what's appropriate is the ichimonji musubi because this is right in the middle. Okay? So, but it's very difficult to keep it in this shape, by the way, because all you did was just fold it, and tuck it under the string, right? So I've tried to spend a whole day in ichimonji many times before, and I sometimes don't notice that the string is loose and it came out at the bottom, and it comes out like this, and it was hanging. So this happens all the time because if you really spend a whole day, sometimes you sit down, you stand up, you sit down, stand up. You ride a car and get out and all that kind of stuff. Then it's really difficult to keep this here. So I personally um have a really hard time doing each one because all you're doing is just folding this and then folding it up, and you're not clipping it or anything, or like making a very strong knot with it or anything. So you do have to check once in a while during your day if you're going to be having ichimonji for a long time that you don't have this sticking out from the bottom. Okay, and try to keep on practicing so you find a good place for it to be under so it doesn't come out late. Okay, that's the reason why I tend to just do the musubi, the koma musubi we did earlier in the beginning. Yeah, that of course doesn't come loose at all. Yeah, it's a just simple knot, right? So, and the next Jumonji rarely gets untied either. But this Ichimonji is supposed to be the one we do most of the time, but it's the most difficult one. So it's really hard. Yeah. I guess you just need a lot of practice. Okay. Then again, back to the third one then. Back to the story of the Jumonji, I guess. Um it's very similar to the Ichimonji, but there's a point where you need to adjust it a little bit. Okay. Um I don't think I can go from do I? Yeah, I probably can't. Okay, so what you do is it really depends on how long the string you have left is, but this time, when you wrap it around this, the ichimonji, you don't bring the whole string out, but you bring a loop out like this from the side. Okay, and approximately does it make sense? Yeah, you don't bring the whole, string out, the end out, but you bring a loop out like this, and you want the length of the side and this to be approximately the same, so it's really the kanji character 10 in Japanese. This length to be about the same. Okay? Then this top string is too long though, right? In that case. So what you do is you fold this inward this way and you tuck the end under the jumonji until the length is approximately the same as the other end sticking out. So, like this. Okay, then it should be approximately about the same length. You see, these two lengths and these two lengths are almost about the same, and it's really the shape of a kanji character 10. Okay, 十文字。十文字結び。I really hope you guys can see me. It's getting too bright inside this room that I can't see my computer screen anymore. Like this. Let me do that one more time. This is just a bit difficult. What you're actually doing isn't, but explaining it is a little bit difficult. Okay? Okay, you wrap it around once, second time or third time, it depends on how long your string is. Okay. You start wrapping it around this again, but this time you don't bring the end out, but you bring the side of the string out, and you have a loop sticking out basically from the bottom, like a loop sticking out. Okay? And you adjust this so it's about the same length as all the other sides coming out from the middle. Okay. And then at the end, you want the top to be adjusted as well. Yeah. So you adjust that by folding it inward this way. Inward. Okay. And hide it under the jumonji. Hide it under the jumonji like this. So the lengths are almost about the same. All right. This is the jumonji musubi. Jumonji musubi. Okay. I need to deeply apologize, but the video that I made what 4 years ago almost about how to wear a dogi, I think it was, or hakama or something. I had very limited knowledge about men's kimono at that time. Yeah, and it's really embarrassing to look back at that video because I'm not explaining it properly. Yeah, a lot of the things I've been explaining is kind of like the broken down version that's done in ZNKR. Yeah. So the All Japan Kendo Federation has a huge influence on men's kimono. Yeah. How you tie the ichimonji, how you tie the or hakama, kakuobi, everything. There's a what should I say a unique way that they do it, which is more convenient, which is faster or easier to do. Yeah. And that's not a bad thing, of course. Yeah, but you need to understand that that's something that you do within the world of kendo or kendo iaido jodo, yeah, and not in the world of fashionable men's kimono, if that makes sense. Okay, so if you do like the jumonji knots or the ways of putting the hakama on the way you do in All Japan Kendo Federation at a men's kimono shop, they will be very surprised. What are you doing? So when I first started wearing men's kimono, yeah, for Let's Ask Shogo, appear in my videos and such, the only knot that I do was jumonji because I train in iaido. And if you only train in iaido, I'm sure most of you probably only know the jumonji. I think a lot of Japanese people only know jumonji. But again, there's musubi kiri and also ichimonji. I probably shared this with you guys before, Michael and Edward, but there was a time when I went to a men's kimono shop in Kyoto, and I was wearing something like this, basically, a fashionable kimono. I had a jumonji, Kyoto language, right? The lady at the shop lady there came up to me and said, "That's a very nice jumonji for a casual kimono." And I was like, okay, I'm probably doing something wrong then. And it was, because again, Jumonji is only something you would do for the Monsuki kimono. Yeah. No, again, depending on which textbook you read, depending on which teacher you ask, because of all these influences I explained to you right now about the All Japan Kendo Federation and such, because All Japan Kendo Federation is just too big, that is starting to become the norm in a lot of places, you know. So it depends on who you ask and such. But traditionally, yeah, at least in the time of the samurais, that is not how it was done. Yeah, and the one I'm teaching you right now is the one that's supposed to be the way it is done. At least the textbooks I read was from documents from the Edo period about how to wear the kimono correctly. Yeah, it was for the boys of samurai families to be able to wear the hakama properly when they get to a certain age, become adults, and have to appear in castles, take part in events, or do their work and stuff. Yeah, and this was the way it was explained. Yep. So yeah, if you know both, it'd be great, I think. Yeah, and if you know a little bit about the history too, yeah, I think it'll be really fun wearing men's kimono, knowing that okay, I'm going to be wearing this type of kimono, so let's try out this knot, let's try out this front tying for the kama. Yeah, being able to kind of so ultimately, like in Japan, like if you know tea ceremony too, it's all about communication you do without speaking. You know, by wearing certain types of patterns or designs on a kimono, doing certain types of knots, for example, you're expressing how much you respect the other person, how much you appreciate the occasion, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So a lot of people in my comments on Last Ask Shogo when I explain about men's kimono, they say, "Oh, there's so many rules for putting clothes on and stuff." But yeah, that's right. There are a lot of rules, but because of these rules in history, there's a lot of fun we can have with it. Yeah, it's not just about being, all caught up and being very exhausted and all that kind of stuff. If you know these things, there's a certain type of communication you can do between the people who know these rules, and I personally feel that's very interesting. Just like how we can train together in Asayama if you know the katas and such. Yeah, of course it's complicated. It takes a lot of practice, but when you can get to a certain level, there's a level of communication that really exceeds all words and languages in this world. I feel, yeah. So it'd be great if we could continue having fun wearing men's kimono together and learning about the bits and pieces of history as we go along. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you so much. So literally, that was everything you need to know about men's kimono. Yeah, from putting the kakobi on. Yeah, the kakobi not specifically for the hakama. Yeah, the how to tie it in a certain angle, and putting the hakama on correctly. The position of the top string, bottom string, as you can see from the sides. This is the right position. Yeah, and the back support, how it goes on top of the ichimonji knot we made together. Yeah, and the three front knots and how and when to use them. Okay. All right. So, again, until the end of this year, I will continue doing these men's kimono lessons. Next week, I have to decide. I'll write on the post we'll be covering next week, but I'll be doing more of these lessons. I personally want to gain more experience, so I'll be able to confidently, even with more confidence, be able to teach about men's kimono in the future. And after 2026, I'll probably be doing this monthly, and the theme will probably be a little bit bigger, so we'll be able to cover everything. Not everything, but as much as possible in one lesson. So I think this would probably be one lesson because this took us about 45 minutes, right? Yeah, I think that's a good, very good one lesson. So in the future, I hope I'll be able to share information about these men's kimono lessons on Let's Ask Shogo too. So maybe we'll have a couple more people learning how to do these, and maybe you'll be able to check how everyone's doing all that kind of stuff during the lessons and stuff. So I'll probably have to go a lot slower because you two already know a lot about men's kimono, I'm sure. There's people like in the comments when not my videos, but a lot other videos where they're explaining how to put the obi on. There's so many people complaining like, "Oh, you're going too fast. Oh, I got lost, so this video doesn't work," kind of stuff. So I'll probably have to go a lot slower, but I'll be making more videos and holding lessons probably monthly from 2026. Yeah, so I hope you can look forward to that too. All right, so thank you so much for your time. Like, just remember you sent me a chat earlier. The purple Hakama is very pretty. Thank you, Edward. Good morning. Above. Oh, okay, okay. Above. That's a good word. You don't want to put it above the OB. That's right. Right on top of it. Yeah. All right. And Michael, your kimono's very nice. Is that the one you were wearing in the last class we did together? Was it? Yeah, right. Okay. That looks very, very cool. Awesome. Perfect. Were you able to catch up with all everything I explained today? I'm sure you already knew a lot about these things, so right? Perfect. Okay. Can you back up a little bit? Can you turn so I can see you? It's amazing. Is that a Budo Hakama, the Hakama you wear for training? Yes, yes. Okay, okay. Very, very good. Perfect. Awesome. Then next week, I have not decided what we'll do yet, but I'll try to put together a few topics together so we'll be able to cover everything during this year. But hmm, maybe we definitely need to do folding. Yeah. And we'll do kimono folding, haori folding, hakama folding, and I want to add the koshimo folding this time. And I think we might do folding next week then in that case. Yeah, which is also very important and be useful for people watching the archives, I hope. Yeah, so I think that's what we're gonna be doing next week. All right. Jinbauri would be cool. Yeah. I this is one of the winter Jinbauri that I have. So you see it's kind of like a stone textile. Yeah. This is another Jinbauri that I have. The other Jinbauri is more of a Dōgi style fabric, but this too has the shoulders, pointy shoulders a little bit. This is very, very nice too, winter style. Yeah, Djibouti is very I like it very much. There's not much information about Djibouti in any of the textbooks I've read, though. I think these types of Djibouti, that you would enjoy as a part of men's kimono might have been more of a modern creation or something that people just wore for just an extra layer, so there's not many rules to it. Ahori does, but these Djibouti have hardly ever heard of any rolls. Nothing I can share is that these jinbaori in Japan, where they're sold, are most cases they're sold at shops that sell jinbei and samue. Again, jinbei and samue were originally samurai's kimonos. They were originally for the monks or for townspeople. And jinbaori is often sold at those shops. So I guess jinbaori was something that people in the past maybe at some point wanted to copy what the samurai's actual Jinbauri looked like, and they were like, "Oh, that looks really cool and warm," and it doesn't get in your way with the arms, like an actual howdy the samurais wore, yeah. But it only goes to like this, like a vest, So like a vest, exactly. So maybe for merchants, maybe for craftsmen too, it was useful for them to keep warm, but it doesn't get in their way for their arms and such. Maybe that could have been the case. I need to do a little bit more studying, but all right. Then thank you so much, both of you, Michael and Edward. I hope to see you next week too when we practice how to fold everything. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Al. Good night, probably for both of you. Yes, almost good night. And I'll have a lot of time probably to do some video editing so I can post another video on Let's Have Six and Say this weekend. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you so much. I'll see you in class this weekend too. Okay. Bye. Thank you so much.